Welcome to the Everyday GSD podcast. Today's special guest is David Harrison. And for those of you watching, you can probably guess, unless you're listening, but if you are watching, you can see he's not the same height as me. He's a tall human, 7 foot tall. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, the show's obviously about Everyday GSD, and I've heard quite a bit of your story from a couple friends of yours, and I know you've been getting shit done for a while. And you've had your ups and downs and challenges in life, but you keep getting up and getting back after it. I'm just going to throw a couple things at for those people who don't know you. You played professional basketball for almost 10 years. You played for the Pacers. You played in the NBA for 4 years, 5 years. You played in China for about 5 years. You graduated from the University of Colorado. Some people might know you in the basketball world from Malice in the Palace.
Also, it's on The Real World.
Oh, you were on The Real World.
Yeah.
You know what? I might have seen you on The Real World.
Yeah,
I'm going to write that down. We might have to talk about The Real World. And what season was that? Or where was it at?
Pennsylvania, Philadelphia.
Oh, in Philly. Okay, you were also okay. And you've had your issues in the NBA. You've got I think you mentioned when we were having a drink earlier. You were young and you made some choices that potentially affected some of the decisions, right?
Oh yeah, hindsight's 20/20, definitely.
Yeah,
but,
and currently, you are working on the new business. It's called Token Hi-Fi, or the parent company is Token X.
Yes. So basically, what we've done is we've created a parallel system to banking that allows for the whole spiel is vertical economies that are unbanked. You know.
Okay.
You know, a vertical economy is something that, you know, very similar to where we've deployed this solution for the cannabis industry.
Okay.
You know, the payments coming from those individuals to their vendors, to their landlords, to their law firms.
Okay. Well, shit, we just jumped right into it, Justin. We probably need a little history first, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to pause that for all you people out there that need support in the lateral money movement. We're going to get into that. So let's back it up. I believe you were first round draft pick in
2004.
2004.
Yep.
So
Wow.
Time flies by, right?
20. That's almost 20 years.
And you look good. What are you, about 39, 40 years old?
40. Turned 41 this year.
Turned 41 this year.
Yep.
So let's talk about a little bit of basketball. And then I want to, because I've had one of your former teammates on the show a couple months ago, Eddie Gills.
Eduardo.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
He had nice things to say about you. So I don't know if he was lying or not. But I told him that you were going to be on. I told him you were going to be on the show. But yeah, let's talk about a little bit of your history growing up and some of the things that maybe were challenging for you that when you got into the NBA. I know your father was a former NFL player.
Yeah.
And your mom was a doctor.
Well, she's a registered nurse. But yeah, you know, they both went to Vanderbilt University. I grew up, primarily down in Nashville, Tennessee. It's kind of funny. When I first came up here, my dad recruited Jay Cutler out of Santa Claus. He'd be around in the summers, and I'd tell him after my first year, I'd be like, man, everyone looks at me crazy when I tell them that I'm from Nashville. And Jay he was like, that's because there's no black people in Nashville, Indiana. And I was like, oh.
You're like, oh, okay, duly noted.
Well, she says, say Tennessee, because they get confused with Nashville, Indiana. And I actually went through there, and Jay was actually correct. I was probably the only black person down there.
So, obviously I'm making an assumption you played basketball your whole life, or?
I played football. I was primarily a football player. I love football, football, baseball. But I grew. I was 7 feet tall. Nowadays, shit, you can play anything at 7 feet. You have 7 foot point guards in the NBA now.
Right.
So, but at that time, it was you're playing basketball. I actually got tricked into it. So like my dad was like a state championship wrestler his entire career, like from like 8th grade through his senior year, heavyweight. So I'm thinking I'm going to be a wrestler, and a man named Ray Dalton, really good guy, ended up passing away, but really great guy. He knew my dad very well, coached against him, knew my dad, like just knew him very well. And literally I'm down there wrestling, getting whipped. I can't wrestle to save my life.
Okay.
But he's not gonna let me stop. If I want to keep on going, Ray's gonna let me come in. So finally, the basketball team was playing a big guy, and Ray kind of schemed with the coach saying like, "Hey, we need to get this guy out of there and up there where he can actually do something."
Right.
So they tricked me up there by saying I need to like mimic being the big guy from the other team, and so then they ended up playing the game. They won, and then I showed back up for wrestling practice, and Coach Dalton looked at me and goes, "No, your home's upstairs." So I ended up going upstairs to the gym, and that was my first soiree into basketball.
Into basketball. And so how old were you about then?
That was 7th grade.
7th grade. And how tall were you then?
6'2".
Yeah, I was like 3.5 feet probably then.
I was that height once. That's what I was telling people.
Did you hear him, Justin? He was that height once.
Yeah, you can Google it.
Yeah, because he's the Google man.
Yeah.
So you ended up going to college in Colorado.
Yes.
I'm assuming on a scholarship from basketball, or
yes, my older brother. I got to play his senior year and my freshman year. We overlapped.
Okay.
And growing up,
because you have a handful of brothers and sisters, right?
11 brothers and sisters. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like
11.
Well, moving around so much, you those are your best friends. So
Yeah.
Growing up, he was my best friend, and being able to play with him for that 1 year was completely worth it.
And that was his senior year, and your freshman year.
Yep.
And did he go on and play at a higher level after that?
Yeah, he played overseas for
Okay.
10 years. Went around Europe a lot. He had some call ups in the NBA, but he liked overseas basketball. He knew he was fluent in French. He was a very European type person.
Okay.
To begin with, yeah.
But I feel like talking to a few of you guys that played overseas and played in the NBA. Obviously, NBA you want that gig, but I feel like everyone I talk to that plays overseas, they enjoyed it.
Yeah, because it's real basketball. There's no business. The business is going out and getting buckets, rebounds, blocks. It's like being like a mercenary. Like it's
right.
It's way in the NBA. There's politics. There's positioning. There's timing. With overseas, it's score as many points as you possibly can, win, lose, or draw.
Yeah, right.
It's a very simple equation.
And you played in China, right, for 5 years?
Yeah, won 2 championships. Really cool league. Now a lot more NBA players end up there, but when I first went, it was like going to like a desert island. You're never coming. I never did come back, but you're never coming back. But now a lot of other players have gone and came back. Like Aaron Brooks played there for a number of years and came back to the NBA.
So you played in the NBA first and then went overseas. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, is it a stepping stone to go over there first and then come back over here, or no?
Some players do that.
Yeah.
Some players do that. Actually, one of my teammates, Chris Copeland, did that. He was my teammate at Colorado, and then he went overseas, and then he came from overseas and back and played the NBA. So some players do that, but it's not the easiest path.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so, you just mentioned your older brother who, he was a senior and you were a freshman, and you have 11 siblings. One of our mutual friends, Mindy, did she tell me that you have a sister that plays in the WNBA?
Yeah, Isabel. She actually plays for the Chicago Sky now.
Currently?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the family's athletic.
It was the good genetics for athletes were. I mean, my dad was 6'8", is 6'8", was. He's older now, but he is 6'8". My mom's 6 feet tall. It's what they didn't have to pay for college.
So because they didn't have to pay for college, were they pushing you guys growing up all the time? Hey, you have a ball in your hand, or you're going to wrestle, or you're going to play sports because that's going to make you a more rounded human, help you in the future? Or were they just kind of like, you know what? Your dad, he's a former NFL player, and he's like, whatever you want to do? Or where were they pushing you in the everyday GSD world?
Oh my God, academics. I mean, I am smart enough to know I just needed a C, so that's what I got.
He's telling you to put the mic a little closer. We're not used to someone this tall. Just slide it right in like that. Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, so and my son currently has that problem. I just need a C, so it's all you focus on. Yeah, no, like my sister Diane, she's a lawyer. My brother Ian, he's going to medical school. The fact that I played in the NBA is like a talking point for my parents. Like they're
Right.
proud, you know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, oh, he played in the NBA, but Ian, he's in law. He's a doctor, and Diane, she's a lawyer. You know,
Right.
Well, yeah, he played in the NBA. Like that's kind of how it works there.
Yeah, and then other families are out there wanting their kids. They're living vicariously through their kids, in my opinion, trying to get them into a professional sport because that's what they really want. That they want it more than the kid. And it sounds interesting with 11 siblings and being athletic. They were just like, you need to read and get in the books.
Yeah, my parents were would be more disappointed about me not graduating than I was for me being suspended for smoking weed in the NBA. I mean, they probably expected that, but yeah.
Well, let's talk about that, smoking weed in the NBA, because I think I read an article, and it went something like they interviewed you, and this is several years back. Obviously, weed is legal in many states now, and eventually will be in all states and federally legal. That's an assumption I'm making, but just the progression that the world is moving in, the United States is moving in. But it's interesting. What you said, they were testing. You're like you're punishing me for the wrong drugs or something.
Yeah, no.
Elaborate on that story for the audience who doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Well, at the time, I felt that you had like the Barry Bonds Balco and all of these new designer steroids, and you're focusing on THC. I felt at the time, if you're not testing for HGH or all of these other steroids that were designer at the time, why are you testing for THC? And it's a marijuana test. So technically, if you don't have marijuana in your system, you fail it. So they need to, like they're saying, it's a test for marijuana. That means if you don't have marijuana in your system, you fail. So I was just trying to, you know what I mean? Just keep everything copacetic.
You're trying to pass.
Just trying to pass. Just trying to fit in, hang out with the guys. But yeah, no, if 40-year-old David tells 22-year-old David, shut the fuck up, stop smoking weed, and go out there and shoot layups all day. But it's crazy. You're supposed to stand for stuff when you're 20 that when you look back when you're 40 and you say, man, that was dumb. The only thing that was dumb about it was the fact that I fucking jumped on the grenade instead of just ride out the fucking shockwave, essentially.
Right.
But that's the only thing that's dumb about it is that the thoughts are still the same. It's still you're imprisoning people for plants. I mean, those plants they're dangerous. I mean, there are dangerous plants. There's hemlock. There's poisons. There's multiple things that you should not ingest. But you're making up stuff. Marijuana kills way less people than alcohol, way less people than tobacco, way less people than automobiles. And you sit around and you do what you're supposed to. You regulate them, you tax them, and you make the industry safe and standard. Instead of throwing this to the black market, to where if you're a cancer patient that needs marijuana, or if at one point during this entire time, if your kid was suffering from epilepsy and needed relief from seizures, you're risking federal time to get the medication that actually helps people. And that's the type of madness that it makes it a no party system, because if we're allowed to exist like this, it's like who's running this country,
Right. When do you think that it went to, okay, we've got to change this? Because obviously, and we're going to talk about your business, and I say Token Hi-Fi, and we'll put the link on it, but it's Token X is the parent company.
Yeah, Token X is a different website, but yes, the parent company.
Okay, so at what point do you feel that they started legalizing? Obviously, it's been legal for medical purposes in like Colorado and California for a while, and then it just starts going to other states, and then it became legal for personal consumption. Mm-hmm. At what point do you think the paradigm started shifting where people were like, this is fucking crazy? Why are we not voting on this? I mean, do you think this is 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or it's still so far from some reality for certain states?
I think it's very far from reality for a lot of states. But it's about tax revenue, and that's what our system helps do very well with this industry, is help them pay their taxes.
And you say your industry, are you talking about token hi-fi, or are you talking about the marijuana industry?
The marijuana industry. That's the thing. This is a passion project for me.
Okay.
I've built 5 different grows across 5 different states. I've ran across the exact same problem every time. Bank account, bank account, bank account, bank account. Where are we banking? Can we get the leverage or loans that we'll need to grow and expand? All of the
any business needs.
Any business, precisely. And you're a legal business that you spend a lot of money to even prove you're a legal business. You have a lawyer that sits around proving you're a legal business. You have a CPA showing you're paying you're going the extra mile to be seem legitimate. Then you show up to a bank and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll take $1 million in deposit, but if you go above $1 million, we kick you out. And then you have a great strain and it sells out and you have $2 million in cash. Now you can.
And when you say a great strain, explain that to the non-marijuana learners out there.
It would be like a genetic.
Okay.
Like
a certain type of beer.
Yeah.
Let's compare it to like an alcohol.
I've always said it's very funny. Cannabis is very similar to alcohol. The business you really, really want to be in is the extraction business, live resin, from field to frozen to product. You're in and out. Your grow costs are low. Being in the smokable cannabis market is very risky. You have to find something that's not only appeasing to the eyes but actually smokes well. You can see the ugliest weed in the world and it smokes amazing and it'll never sell because it doesn't look right. So, I mean, that's that whole paradigm.
And for the record, you only know this because you smoke legally in states that it's legal. See what I did there, Justin?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, good call.
I mean,
cover that ass.
Yeah.
CYA.
Yeah, because you're not 22 anymore.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's you throw a rock across the Minnesota, the Michigan or Illinois state line. I guarantee you find a dispensary. I guarantee you the number of people who are going to that dispensary are people from the state of Indiana.
Right. Now, is it legal in Ohio?
I think so, medicinally.
So we're just kind of Indiana, and for those first-time listeners, this podcast studios, Indiana. So basically the states around us are all legal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, from my understanding.
Illinois, Michigan, Missouri, Ohio, Kentucky's still illegal. You have the I-65 Bible Belt going south, so you have Tennessee, Mississippi.
Now, do you think that has a lot to do with it?
Oh, yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus has a lot to do with it.
Because Jesus probably never smoked weed.
There's like these studies that like claims like cannabis oil and all this other stuff, but Jesus drank wine. It's in the Bible.
Yeah.
And if Jesus liked wine, I'm pretty sure he'd like a nice, a nice joint or two every now and then. But I don't really get into much religion talk. I love what Jesus has done for society. I just don't like what Jesus has done to society.
Yeah, fair enough. So at what point did you decide you wanted to get into, because I mean, let's back it up a little bit. You got a career in the NBA, which, as I mentioned, I want to talk about, I do want to talk about Malice in the Palace, just for fun, for my own knowledge, because I didn't know about that. And I know there's a lot of listeners that are basketball fans that are going to be geeking out that you're on this show. But so before we talk about that, you have a successful career. Well,
you have to do successful.
Yeah, I would say, in my opinion, successful, because you played for several years, and then you go overseas and play, and you're enjoying yourself. So that could be success for someone, just having fun doing the sport you want to do. But let's talk about some of the controversy that you were involved in.
Oh man.
Oh shit. Here we go.
Oh man. Yeah. Let's start with my 9th game in the NBA, and that was the Malice in the Palace.
Okay.
It's game 9. So imagine that.
Game 9 is your 9th game.
Ninth game in the NBA.
Yeah, and you're up in Detroit.
We're in Detroit. The year prior, Tayshaun Prince ran Reggie down, blocked the shot.
That's Reggie Miller for you people that don't know.
So there's history.
Okay.
Carlisle was the coach the year before, then went to Indiana. Dale Davis was actually on that team at the time. There's just a lot of history between the two teams, and it ended up being the worst brawl to ever be filmed,
still to this day.
I mean, you can't. The only way you can get worse is if worse things happen. Like no one that like we punched like ended up dying. You know what I mean? Like you can Google that too. But no one we punched ended up dying. That's how this escalates, and you don't want to ever see it go that way.
Right.
Because honestly,
but you guys went in the crowd, right?
It's crazy. When you're on a team, it's like a family.
Yeah.
And when you see one of your family members go off, do something crazy, you don't think, oh, they're doing something crazy, they let them do it. You're like, holy shit, I got to protect my family member.
Right.
You know? And that's kind of what this was. We were protecting one another. And that's why no one got hurt, because we were protecting one another.
Right.
We weren't like a mob squad running around like planning how do we jump this group of fans that are just waiting for us, you know? But we were. It was a series of unfortunate incidents. Is the best way to describe it.
Okay.
Yes, that overlapped, and like I said, it's just a fucking perfect storm. Think about it. You throw a cup. Just throw a fucking cup. Throw a cup. Tell me when the interior liquid doesn't dissipate. And
right.
whatever you threw it at, it just flops off in the wind.
Right.
This thing had like NASA quality, like centrifugal force. It kept every ounce of liquid in the fucking cup, and the cup hit him with the heel that, like with like
the open part.
No, the bottom part. Yeah. Exactly. So it bricked up. Open part, yeah, it would all escape, and you know what I mean. That mass wouldn't have hit you as hard. This was a brick hitting you in your face. Anyone would be angry. Anyone. Right. I mean, when I was at Morgan Stanley, I remember my interview process, they're like, so what would you do differently if that happened to you in the workplace? And I was like, so if someone came into my office and threw beer on me, what would I do differently? I would sue Morgan Stanley for not having the proper security of keeping someone not being able to throw beer on me, I guess. I don't know the answer to your question. That's a question. You can't answer that question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was really a fucking interview question?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved my job there. And if you are placing money with a broker dealer, you should look at Morgan Stanley. But but no, they're great. They're exactly what you want. You know, you see like all these banks failing, all that other crap. You're never going to have that type of issue with Morgan,
right?
You're going to have access to liquidity to the market. If you're a high wealth, individual, Morgan Stanley is definitely the type of firm you should be looking to place your money. And then mention me, and I get a kickback. So
yeah,
no, they'd be like, "No, you owe us money." So. Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean it was a series of unfortunate events.
Okay,
that one thing going left, one thing going right would have just beer dissipates, doesn't hit Ron. We win the championship that year. That's the thing. That's the sad thing.
And did a handful of you get suspended and you had to come back? Didn't a handful of you get, actually, Justin, you want to hand me that glass, bro? We'll switch glasses out. I didn't need to hand it. All he had to do was turn around. Yeah, no, he's got the long arms. I love that I don't have to lean far in to send this to you either. Thank you. People that are just listening to this are like, what the fuck are they talking about? He's 7 feet tall, people. So you guys end up having to go back to the home game after that, and 6 of you guys, which are all good fucking players, from what I've been told, are now suspended. Mm-hmm. And now you guys are playing, I'm guessing, with...
Now you have us, the mod squad. Exactly. Okay. That honestly, to this day... And
Eddie played. That was on Eddie's team too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to this day, that was my favorite game I've ever played professionally. There's no way I was coming out of the game because there was no one to replace me. So I got to do whatever I wanted. Had a good night. We ended up losing, but
But it was a great game.
it brought tears to my fucking eyes. They gave us a standing ovation. The crowd did, because we had 6 players and we took. I mean, that Orlando team went to the finals a few years down the line. We took that team to the brink with 6 bench players. There were no starters.
Yeah.
We took it that if like they do like they've already done like a whole Malice documentary, but if they would do those 6 games, you would see a lot there. I mean, it was a lot.
Okay.
That's when I found out that I was getting indicted. Which
yeah, because there was like civil suits and shit, right?
yeah, it's funny. It's have you ever seen?
And is that correct when I say civil suits?
They were civil.
Yeah.
They were very civil. Yeah. Have you seen the movie Fun with Dick and Jane?
No, I haven't.
Well,
but I'm the wrong guy to ask. Justin probably knows.
Jim Carrey.
Yes,
That's
great
what I mean.
movie.
He knows.
So he did part of.
Say that again in the microphone.
Taya Leone, Jim Carrey.
Yeah, he knows all this
great
shit.
movie, great
Yeah.
movie. But you know the scene when he's basically part of Enron, gets like elevated up the corporate ladder, like last minute, like day before the stock tanks, and then they end up indicting him, and he finds out on the news, and he runs like literally. He's like, you hear like there's a scene of like there's a camera on Tia and Leone in the bedroom, and he's like, I'm indicted, and you hear him like run down the steps, indicted, and like hear him get in the car, indicted. That's literally how like when I found out after a game that the ESPN was going to release footage of me punching someone, and I fucking punched him. I mean, it happened.
They deserved it.
No one deserved what they got, but in the situation, he could have avoided this 100%.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was not the aggressor. I was defending myself. It is better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6, and that's the situation I felt I was in.
Right.
I acted, and I like I said, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, but I'm from a small little city outside Bellevue. You know, when people start reaching and looking in their pockets, they're trying to grab a knife. Like that is common life knowledge for me. And he actually ended up having a knife on him.
The guy that you punched?
Yes, the guy punched very, very, very hard. Very hard.
So they made a documentary on it?
They made one like Jermaine O'Neal, Steven Jack, the more famous ones.
Yeah, okay.
They made one on Netflix, but there's a lot that they didn't talk about.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
It's good. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
But there's a lot they didn't talk about. Coming up on the 20th anniversary, it'd be kind of fun to, like I said, put together those post-6 games.
Are you listening to this?
Yeah, were you interviewed for that documentary?
No, of course not.
Right. Yeah. Typical.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I might know a guy.
Yeah.
I might know a guy, Justin.
Maybe.
Maybe.
20-year anniversary's coming up. That's you call it an anniversary, but what else do you call it?
Yeah. I think that's what it's called.
No, I mean, anniversary is supposed to be like nice and happy.
No, I know.
This was not a nice, happy
I know.
event,
I know. I got you. Okay, so you get through all that, and this is your first year, 9 games in, which started this evolution. Because we were talking about you might have gotten a little bit of trouble. You failed the piss test, which I didn't fail. You passed it.
Yeah, so I didn't fail drug test until my 3rd year.
Okay.
I wasn't smoking. There was a change in the coaching staff that kind of left me like a bastard stepchild, essentially.
Right.
The new regime really didn't want me around, and where was I going to go? But I started failing it that year twofold. The drug commissioner at the time refused to let me out, and I was put in the program because I was at a party in LA, and if you guys knew me at the time, I enjoyed social events.
You like the party in LA?
It was a fun time. But there's a party in LA, and there's drugs, and I was there, and they put me in the drug program. And the guy told me, it doesn't even matter if you ever piss clean, we're never letting you out. And that just frustrated me to the point where I have the unfortunate ability to like literally just go full fuck it and go extreme. And that's exactly what I did. I started smoking while they were drug testing me, and just preaching the same lines. Like, I have no HGH in my system. I have no steroids in my system, but I definitely have this. So
Right.
I'd pee on the floor and be like, hey, there it is on the ground. Have fun with that. You know what I mean? It's dumb shit.
Right.
But I was so angry that we're not past this. I have always seen the war on drugs as almost a genocide. There are people on this planet that could contribute a lot that are held back because they chose to smoke weed. Those same people, the fucking guy who drove 100 miles per hour through the middle of the roundabout.
Yeah.
He has consequences for his actions.
Yeah.
But just because he drank alcohol isn't the reason why. And that's the problem, and that's the difference between weed and alcohol for me. It's the same thing. But one carries a life sentence,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's an actually true statement. Now, from my understanding, in the NBA, they do not test for marijuana. Is that correct?
10 years before my time. Exactly.
So the NBA. What about the NFL? Do you know? Do they test?
I don't know. I know baseball was the first to stop testing.
And they were probably hush hush about it. They're just like, hey, we're not testing for weed anymore.
Well, hey, everybody, we're not testing for weed anymore.
Yeah.
Hey, look over there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, why is that an issue? Ask yourself the question: why is that an issue?
Right.
Do you care that does Morgan Stanley test for weed? Never took a drug test when I was at Morgan Stanley.
Right.
You would not want me on weed, fucking trading your accounts.
Right.
So you know what I mean. I never took a drug test when I was at
Right.
Morgan. I was there for 4 years. So talk to them about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's why? Why is that an issue?
Right.
Do we drug test the president? I don't know. I mean, we should. Both of them.
I don't. Both of them. There's more than two, but just recently, the last two.
Oh, I like I said, getting political.
We won't get political or religious, right?
I'm very narrow. I love both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Thomas. I like Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
His interpretations of state rights and things like that are where I think we should always lean.
Okay.
But at the same time, man, if 60% of sane people can just bond together, they could actually run this country.
Right. That's a true statement. Okay, so you leave the NBA. I'm sorry, you leave the professional basketball world.
Yeah.
And again, this is all little articles I that Justin found for me, because that's what Justin does, because he's good at this shit. Tell me about McDonald's.
That was awesome.
So you left the NBA and then you were like, I need a job, or were you doing? Was it a publicity thing, a promotional thing, or you like, what, I need to work and I need some money, I'm going to do it.
So literally, I'm very aloof. I'm jaded by the world, but like literally, like life around me, I'm very aloof. And I come home from playing, and I take my son Dylan, and we go to McDonald's. I still remember this day, and I'm sitting there, and I'm going to pay for his Happy Meal, and I got number 2, greatest meal ever, 2 cheeseburgers.
2 cheeseburgers. That's the meal right there.
The best.
No onion, extra pickle.
I don't know about it.
The number 2 is the greatest meal ever. It's the greatest meal ever. It is like if you go out the night before and you go a bit too far, especially on Colombian whites, and but at the same time, Colombian whites and reds, good wine selection, but yeah, the number 2 brings you back to the earth, and I'm sitting around, I'm waiting. Dylan gets his Happy Meal. Swipe the card, nothing happens. Swipe the next card, reject it, shut down. Luckily, like, because this is prior. People don't understand, before Uber, when you needed to get somewhere, you had to have a limousine. I had a limousine probably 2-3 times a week just because I'm not driving drunk, you know?
Right.
But there was no Uber and taxis. Right. God, you try to get a taxi to the north side of town, you know? So when I would do that, we'd always stop on this McDonald's. It was 96 and Meridian.
This is in Indianapolis.
Yeah, 96 Meridian. And this is where it happened. I'd say the meal was $70. I'd give the guy $100 bill and have him keep it. And that dude ended up being the manager.
Right.
So he sees the situation. He comes over. Note, he did not get my number 2. He got Dylan's Happy Meal, but I did not get my number 2 meal. I was just noting that right now. But one of the things he mentioned was, and this is what I was going through, was just income decay. I used to have money coming in, and money going out wasn't a situation, a problem. Now I had money going out with no money coming in consistently.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to do. So he was like, there's a manager, it's on the 96 in Michigan store situation opening up. It's 2 weeks of training, and it pays like $75,000 a year. And I'd only have to be there from like midnight to like 8 a.m. And so I'm like, that's perfect. Because at that time, I'm still studying for my Series 7. I'm still studying for my 66. You know, I can just study for my that's all I was going to do. Show up day one. I had the most open heart and mind to get this job and do well at it. I don't fit there. Like
meaning height,
size, width, yes,
correct.
Dimensions. Yes.
I'm saying correct. I can agree with you.
So I'm not going to think.
How you look in that little window?
Well, no, I couldn't. I'd have to like bend down and like put my elbows into it. Like I remember one time I got sick of it and I stood up and I was realizing the guy's literally talking to my crotch right now.
Right.
I mean, I just didn't fit.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to seem ungrateful. Because that's a great opportunity. Manager at McDonald's, never having any prior fucking working experience before in my life.
Yeah,
it was like a $65,000 a year job that like probably now if I kept it would be like $125. You know, but that wasn't me.
Yeah,
I studied my 7, studied for my 66, went to Morgan, built a book of business, had the pagoda. 4 and 5 for the Indianapolis 500 in 2018.
Nice.
Went the way I wanted to go, and then walked away from Morgan because they're too corporate for what I want to do.
Correct, for what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because earlier, obviously, you had nothing but nice things to say about them, but it was a personal choice that you chose to walk away from them because you said you like it's not for you.
There's a company that's Bibeau, EBBU, and I went to them. Bibeau wanted me to do their sale.
Yeah.
They ended up selling to Morgan. No way. This is cannabis. No way. They ended up selling to Canopy Growth for like $520-something million. I would have made 10% of the transaction.
And are those cash deals?
That one was cash and stock. So Bibeau, they genetically modify seeds to make like a specific cannabinoid profile in the end product.
Right.
So it's really good for trying to control SOPs. And they're just utilizing CRISPR technologies and things like that at the time. I never imagined it selling for that amount, but at the same time, it did.
Right.
And they told me never sell, never
and it
sell.
Did. Yeah. So you leave that industry, for lack of a better word, we'll call that an industry. And at what point did you say, I want to get into, and I have to keep looking down because I know you got Token Hi-Fi and Token.
It was more
Token X.
It was more advising for the cannabis industry. When did I know that I wanted to do that? I've always wanted to do that.
Right. Okay.
But at the same time, as these regulations have changed state to state, implementing a plan and a build out and things like that have been, something that I got the ground game on very early in Colorado and California.
Right.
And then being able to implement those same things, in a Oklahoma, in a Michigan, and now out in Missouri, those types of build outs and capturing that first year of the market are crucial towards the business plan that I operated on that side.
Okay, so walk me through what your business does. I know you guys are launching within the year, and actually by the time this airs, it's probably going to be out there, and we'll put your website on, and we'll have all that happy shit. The smart guys do all that stuff. But like, walk me through what it is. So I don't have a clue what you're talking about. So like, let's say it like that.
Okay, so
because obviously you and I have talked about it, so I actually do know.
What's your business? What do you do?
I've got a podcast, Everyday GSD.
Okay, yeah. So what if all the money you make from this podcast you get in cash and you can't deposit into a bank?
Correct.
Okay, so you're going to call me. What I do now is I send an armored car. I pick up your cash. I auto sweep that cash into our payment platform. Our payment platforms, now you pay your taxes, your utility bills, and other members. It could be your landlord, your lawyers, your lab testing, specifically for our industry.
Right.
And then on top of it, you have a checkbook. You can write me a check to send to FedEx or other vendors that aren't on the platform. From there, you have payroll.
So you're not a bank.
We're a fintech.
You're fintech. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Fintech. The difference between a bank and a fintech is fintechs can't take deposits. You can't give me $1 and I open you up a token hi-fi account. You have to purchase my token to get engaged on the system, and that takes you having a bank account somewhere.
Right. And so when you say token, like cryptocurrency,
it's more of a digital asset than a cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Cryptos, basically a cryptocurrency is an Excel spreadsheet on a lot of different people's computers, and you have one spreadsheet that says that's what it's supposed to look like. It's nothing like it's an open source ledger. It says who owes what is owed, what it is. Delivering that value from peer to peer, that's where you find the biggest holes in crypto. That's where you find the holes in Bitcoin. That's where you find the holes in Ethereum. And that's where my technology fills in. We deliver the value of the data that's what TokenX, a parent company. So we're not only going to do this, we're a perfect fit for the cannabis solution, but we're even more perfect for carbon. We're even better for real estate. We're even better for any tangible asset that someone has to hold on their balance sheet, or if they want to have identity. When you look at the laws, the most valuable thing you have for private property is the right to exclude. If I can't exclude, I can't assign value. So why do you have to pay me $1 million to get this property if I can't exclude someone else as being the quote unquote owner? And that's the problem you get with cryptocurrency, with the cryptographic keys. If I have your key, I have your currency.
I'm listening. Yeah. It's not money laundering though.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no, I know. I know listeners are going, what the fuck? And there's so many people understand this, and it's just not a world that I'm familiar with, but I totally get it. So if I have this farm in Michigan or Colorado, and I'm making a good living, honest living, because it's legal, and I'm growing cannabis, and I need to, pay these vendors, and they're like, we can't take cash. You can't just walk into the bank with $500,000 in cash.
Exactly.
So they now go to you, and you're the bridge, and I'm dumbifying this by all means, and now you're the bridge to make sure my vendors and everything that would normally be paid through your accounts payable is now going through you with, for lack of a better word, a agreed on legal currency. Because I don't want to say it's not because the other way is a legal currency, it's just not accepted.
We're the bridge over troubled water.
I love it. I love
lay it. You down. No, but exactly. We keep everyone safe. We keep the banking system safe, because to be on our system, you have to prove that this is a legal sale of cannabis.
Right.
So you're not bringing in.
And it's so regulated. People who don't understand, I can tell you, I have a couple friends that happen to be in that industry, in the legal side of it. And when when they would explain to me what they're doing and the regulations they have to follow, I'm like, and this is going to sound crazy, but I'm like, why are you doing it the legal way? Fuck that. Just go stick with the black market. But like, they're like, no,
That's called the traditional market.
Yeah, thank you. The traditional market. But I get it because they want to do everything right. And they believe in the cause to make sure that they're following the regulations. But I mean, I can open up a wine store down the street for like, I'm making up a number, $500 wine license because it's not a 3-way, so it's extremely inexpensive, and I just have to renew it every year. And you can all come in there and get super drunk and give me money, and I can credit cards and all this shit. You can't do that with cannabis.
Exactly, and like I said earlier, like look how many people alcohol has killed. I mean, it's the only drug that if you quit cold turkey and you're addicted to, will kill you. I mean, it is the definition of insanity.
How many people died of alcohol incidents last year, or just do 2022 or some shit? The number is fucking huge. And I'm gonna throw another question at you. How many people died of cannabis last year? I think it's 0.
Well,
because you can't say.
Come on, there's at least 3. There's some idiot,
but you can't say related death.
Yeah,
140,000 per year.
140,000 per year.
Alcohol.
Yeah, and that's not related. That's straight up from alcohol. Now, alcohol-related deaths, that means I got behind the wheel and killed a bunch of people. So that's when you say marijuana or cannabis-related incidents. That's you made a poor choice while you were on whatever influenced you.
For weed?
0.
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. Well, listen, I know you're extremely busy and you got a lot of places to go.
We have.
You got a little more time?
Yeah, we can do it.
About 20 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Good. This is interesting to me because, like I said, when I mentioned that I have some friends, I was prior military for a handful of years and was a government contractor. And I have a lot of guys that were on my teams that, they leave that world and then they go completely to the other direction, whether that's, abusing alcohol or going down some, the bad roads. But the ones who are like, the medical marijuana for PTSD or mushrooms, which that's a whole nother world that's becoming more and more prevalent out there. Yeah, and it's just like, so what's been going on for all these years that all of a sudden, because, Reagan said, say no to drugs.
I think unfortunately, there's been people like me who've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar.
Right.
And
so you fucked it up for everyone?
No. I would say this. You can't avoid the consequences of what happens. I couldn't avoid it. But as dumb as it is, that gets in the psyche. And if you look at my suspension as a watershed moment for cannabis,
right?
My suspension is like the death of Jesus. But past that, it's always been
right.
Cannabis good, cannabis better, cannabis not illegal. Like I said, I don't. If I had it to do over again as a intelligent 40-year-old, I would say, shut the hell up, you idiot.
Yeah, of course. Right?
But at the same time, I don't think doing it any differently. I couldn't because of what I truly believe. It's a genocide.
Right.
It is a purposeful approach to eliminate a thought process. And that thought process is, I know what I would want in my body.
Right. And this might be a political question, and if it is, we can fucking move on. But and I apologize, I forget her name. She was the girl in the women's NBA that got caught with like
Grinder.
Yeah, like with a half a gram of
Dude, I've
oil.
smoked weed on the Great Wall of China. Seriously, I have pictures.
I have pictures, he says. No, but like,
I'm gonna Google that.
Yeah,
go on my Twitter. You'll see it. I have a Tumblr account.
Yeah,
I still do Tumblr because I got an online blog. But yeah, I've literally smoked marijuana on the Great Wall of China.
Yeah,
I'm imagining. Say I get caught doing that dumb thing.
Yeah, but this is your younger.
This is my younger self.
Yeah,
but imagine me getting caught doing that dumb thing. Does at that time President Obama trade the merchant of death to get me out of Chinese prison? Answer is fuck no. My ass is over there suffering in Chinese prison
because you did dumb shit.
And that's the thing.
You did dumb shit they consider dumb shit.
Precisely. And that's what I was trying to say. I was like, why don't we look at this as what we're supposed to? We're angry at Russia for them enforcing their own rules against one of our citizens. Why don't we look at it as, why do we have the same archaic laws as Russia? And we change ourselves and we look internally and we actually get healing. Instead of Russia, you illegally detained her. No, they didn't. It's within their laws that they did this. We have the same laws. Show up to one of our airports, because it's federal, with cannabis. Same thing will happen. Will you get 9 years in a gulag? No. But at the same time, you're still going to get arrested. You're still going to get publicly shamed.
But actually, if it happens to be your second or third or fourth offense, you could get fucking 10 years.
Yeah.
You know?
I was actually listening to something the other day that said if you have cannabis on a plane, every state you fly over that it's illegal, you can get jail time from.
Yeah. So I have a friend, I know he listens to this. I'm just going to use his initials because I don't know if he wants me to say this. DF, where is his first name starts with a D, last name starts with an F. He spent over 10 years in prison, and I can tell you, it's a fucking great guy. He got out of jail a couple times, going back in jail. And did he do anything than any of us? Well, he got caught all the time. Mm-hmm. And he was the guy that was like, fuck you, I don't give a shit. But he's a extremely successful, individual outside of jail now, and he's almost like a model person where the prison system's like, why can't they all come out like you? But if you talk to him, all of his shit, he did a couple fights here and there and some shit like that, but almost all of this stuff that he got in trouble for to actually do real time, and I mean real time, like 4-year or 5-year stints in like real fucking prison in the United States, was because of weed. He's like, they put him in at this one point, and he's a pretty tough dude, right? They put him with a bunch of child molesters in a transit spot, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble in here.
Yeah,
because I ain't playing fucking games. And guess what? He got in trouble in there, and he no problem. He was like, yeah, that's what it is. But he got in there because of weed.
Yeah.
And if you look at that today, and the state that he lives in, which I won't say, the state he lives in now, it's fucking legal. And he's got such a good outlook on it. He goes, it's because of all the shit that we went through. Now it's been processed this way. And I'm like, God, I'd be angry at everyone.
That's the beautiful thing about weed. It doesn't make you angry.
Right. It doesn't make you do 100 miles an hour and hit the fucking roundabout. I can tell you that.
Gosh. But that's the thing. It's, marijuana is
and shout out to you, D.
They call it a gateway drug. But then I say, is milk a gateway drug to alcohol? Then
I thought you were gonna say, is milk a gateway drug to Oreo cookies?
They are.
They fucking are.
Yeah. If you have Oreos and no milk, you're sad.
Yeah,
that is true. That is true.
That's great. So how's this work next? What's the biggest hurdle you have? Because obviously, clearly, you're very chill, but you have a very good outlook on your past and what you're trying to do, which is, it falls into that everyday GSD lifestyle of getting shit done. How are you going to make sure this Token Hi-Fi and Token X is out there with your team to make sure people, the individuals that need it, can make it happen? How is this? What's the next step?
Like I said, launch Nevada. That's all we're focusing on right now. We're getting our MVP finalized. We're going to launch our first core system, and getting shit done. Solving the marijuana banking issue it's not a light thing. They've been passing laws on one side of the house or the other for the last 10 years trying to do what we're doing with our technology. So we don't take it lightly, what we're doing, but we have to take it like it's a business.
Right.
And that's exactly what it is. It's us getting our proper licensing. We have our proper team in place. When you look on our website, you'll see, I have a woman, her name is Julie Copeland. Absolutely amazing. 72 years old. She worked for head of compliance at JP Morgan for the cannabis industry. She looks at our system and then is calling us to work for us.
Right.
I love what we've built. I love the team we have. But it's all about bringing money in. I don't know.
Yeah, no, right. Absolutely. And, you know, I love your can-do attitude. And obviously I have a little gift for you before we wrap this up. But I just want to make sure I'm clear. So Token X is, they can look you up on the website.
Yeah, so Token Hi-Fi is tokenhifi.com. Token X is Token Corporation.io.
Say that one more time. I interrupted you.
Tokencorp.io.
Okay.
But that's the parent company, and the parent company, you know, we're using a lot of our technology to solve for cannabis, for real estate, for other things, carbon, for other things, not just, you know, our one fintech solution.
Right. So if anyone wants to invest, I'll make sure those get put on there, and we'll make sure they're in all the proper thing. But if anyone wants to invest and has a bunch of money, I think he's your guy. I think David's going to steer you in the right direction. And if you don't want to invest, but you want to use his resources and use it when it's ready to rock and roll,
Call Morgan Stanley.
No, listen, man, I do have a gift for you because I do appreciate your time and I appreciate your story, and I'm glad a mutual friend connected us. But I have an Everyday GSD T-shirt, and yes, for those of you watching, it does fit him. It's a larger size. It might not look like it does, but I appreciate you, man. And I'm gonna lean in. Thanks for coming on the show, brother. I appreciate you. And when your podcast comes out, I'll be more than happy to be a guest.
Yeah, no. So I'm thinking more around cooking.
Cooking.
Yeah. I think I could do I just found out the wonders of avocado oil.
Oh, I love avocado oil.
You can cook with that
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
I had a cooking show in college called Half Baked.
Nice.
We would just get high and cook.
I had a boat named Twice Baked potato. See what I did there? But no, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, and we're going to stay in touch for sure.
Definitely.
All right, appreciate you. Thanks for watching the Everyday GSD podcast. Episodes come out on the 1st and 15th of the month. If you want to watch people or listen to people that Everyday GSD, please download and subscribe wherever you listen or watch the Everyday GSD podcast. Everyday GSD.